Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your 2026 annual astrology forecast. I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace, and this year's videos are so special because you're not going to just be hearing from me, but you'll be hearing from 5 incredible astrologers this year, each with mastery in their own area of life. Now, we've come together to give you a full spectrum look at your year ahead so that you can move through 2026 a lot more grounded, a lot more prepared, a lot more excited, and supported. Now, this video is long. It's long and it's rich and it's intentional so that we can go deeper, so that you have something to come back throughout the year and take a look at how it's shaping up with your life. So take your time, grab a cafe, grab a snick snack, whatever you like. Listen to this podcast style. Just give yourself an opportunity to really receive from us. Let every astrologer pour their knowledge into you and take your time to digest each section. Now, in the description box down below, you're going to find your timestamps for every section and each astrologer with their links as well, in case you want to reach out to them on their website for additional resources. Now, you're also going to find your 2026 astrology tools. We've got a beautiful downloadable guide for you, as well as your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Skies Collective. You can use my code Stormie2026 to get a little bit of a discount, and we use that all year long as we are traveling together. All of this is to help you be organized, be empowered, and feel fluent in the language of astrology as you are navigating 2026. So, my beautiful friends, take a deep breath, get comfortable. I've got my tea. Get comfortable, and let's explore 2026 together. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your astrology for 2026 for Libra. This year, the emotional weather finally shifts into a terrain that I think you're a bit more comfortable with as we shift into fire and air, that heaviness of doing the emotional lifting and emotional labor and really kind of digging through the deep internal work and restructuring, particularly financially. Now we're going to shift a little bit more momentum to moving things forward, moving the passion forward. That air energy, you are in air energy. It's very much so in alignment with your being. Now, because you are Venusian, we are also going to see that your ruling planet is going to go retrograde at the end of the year. So you can just go ahead and make a plan, like put it in the planner, put it in the calendar, Libra, that at the end of the year, it's personal. It's a very personal rediscovery for you to look at your journey, to look at rebalance, reclaiming your identity, reclaiming your ability to receive, to be in the softness and the ease of what is available to you and how you're doing on that journey. Now, I want to say before we really jump in here, we're not going to cover the Mercury retrogrades in this video. I'll do that in a separate one since I'll be traveling with you all year long. But let's talk first about this elemental shift because these are not small transits. At the beginning of the year in January, we'll have Neptune shift into the vibration of Aries, and then in February, we'll have Saturn come into Aries, and on February 20th, they will come into conjunction with one another. Now, like I said, these are not small transits. You're going to start to work on this seventh house. You got a little taste of it last year, your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, but this is going to represent this year in fire, a massive energetic shift and momentum. It's away from the emotional heaviness. It's very clear, it's direct. You get it. People are showing you who they are. They're showing you who they are. You're not second guessing it and going, oh, I have this emotional attachment from the past that's making me stay in something that's not the right dynamic for me. They are showing you who they are. You, though, are also seeing who you are in relational capacity as well and how you're doing with that. So some of the fog of the past year, I think, is to lift in this relational space, but it gets burnt away through action and momentum. Then when we get into April, we're going to see that Uranus is going to come back into the vibration of Gemini. We did experience this last year, so again, you got a little taste of this, but this is also shifting the lightning bolt of Uranus, the great awakening, the speed and the suddenness out of Earth into air. When you throw a thunderbolt and you throw lightning into the air, it's very electric and eclectic. Now, this is lighting up for you your ninth house space: publishing, marketing, broadcasting, legal things, higher education, your worldview, your belief system, teaching, philosophy, and they are going to expand quite rapidly. Think about when we had Uranus in Gemini in 2025, how quickly things were happening, how quickly things came online, how quickly things became digital, and it changed your perspective or your worldview, right? Some of you may find that 2026, 2027 as well, find you going back to school, find you moving abroad. You're starting to teach, you're putting out that YouTube channel, you're dramatically changing a philosophy or a perspective that you've really held for a very long time because your worldview is different. Now, around you as well, there's enough happening in your relationship dynamics that I also think here that other people can be awakening around you. And because you're seeing what's happening there, that's actually what's influencing the shift of your worldview as well. Now, summer is going to bring Jupiter into Leo. Again, compatible simpatico energy with Leo's fire, but it's going to light up your 11th house space of friends, social groupings, your long-term plans, goals, and designs for yourself, but they are achieved by being connected to some kind of tribe or grouping or association. So as Jupiter comes here and is got fire in your social sphere, openings and connecting with new community, connecting deeper in a community that you're already in. The opportunities are here. The desire to express yourself more publicly or in these more grouping spaces are here. And the way that Jupiter really gives the blessing is just providing the opportunity. You got to go through the door, right? But the other way Jupiter provides the opportunity to learn here is that you get into the new community, and before you have the wisdom of how to function in it, you get the experience of not functioning so well, right? It's very much so this idea, Libra, that you'll get to watch or you'll get to help facilitate this year of everybody wants community, but they have no idea how to be in community. That may be a phrase that really sticks and works with you this year, because if you're the person who's struggling to be in community or seeing how you're doing relationally, then you know which side to work on. But if it's someone who's showing up in your space and you realize, they're just struggling to understand how to be in community, this might be a really good resource for you this year. Now, we're also going to see that we have got the eclipses, of course, and those always change the game. But let's talk about the nodes first. The nodes are going to be shifting to the North Node in Aquarius, the South Node into Leo. Now, depending on which node you are following, because we've got a couple different kinds in our tribe, the true node is going to move into Aquarius on July 26th. The mean node is going to move on July 17th. So just to make sure, when you hear somebody saying the node moved on the 17th or you hear the 26th, you know what you're listening to. So you need to establish which node you're going to be listening to, okay? But on the 26th, North Node into Aquarius, South Node into Leo, marking a shift in your 5th and your 11th houses. And it's an 18-month cycle. We're going to work on this, okay? It's about, first of all, reclaiming some joy, pleasure, and play in the places where there are other people, right? There have to be some groupings of people. This has to be a space where you are realizing it can't just be you and it can't be performative. You can't be a part of a group because it makes you look good in some way. There has to be more depth that's coming into it, because the way that you will be able to add your depth to the group is by being truly who you are at a more vulnerable level, at a more playful level, at a more honest level. So the call for validation that brought performance before won't do. Now it has to be through visibility and connection. Now we're going to have our first eclipse happening February 17th, and this will be a solar eclipse lighting up that Aquarius area of your chart. So the 5th house space where you're going to be growing this year into that joy, that pleasure, that play. So it's a creative rebirth for you. Romance, pleasure, children, things happening for your children, things happening around children, something that you really want to take a risk on can begin at this time. Like use it as a beautiful spark that's returning. When we get to March 3rd, we're going to have now a lunar eclipse, and this one's going to be happening in Virgo. We've been working on the Virgo Pisces axes for some time, so this is not necessarily new vibrational information, but this is a lunar eclipse in the 12th house space. So there's kind of this idea for me that because you've been working on it for some time now it's about a release at this lunar eclipse. You're releasing that self-doubt. You're dissolving those fears. You're willing to face the fear and take the action anyway, right? Like there's just this cycle, I think, that's allowed to end of something that isn't an undoing. It's been your undoing, or it can be your undoing, or self-sacrifice that is superficial in some way, right? Like it's not actually benefiting all involved. Now, when we get to August, we'll have our last two eclipses of the year. So on the 12th, we're going to have a solar eclipse happening in Leo, lighting up that 11th house space. So new community, new chapter coming into your life. Maybe you're even joining a new community or a new chapter, but because the South Node is also working here, you're not just stepping into being the leader, right? Or maybe you are stepping into be the leader, which is the thing you didn't do last time. But there's certainly a change in your grouping, your friendships, and your public visibility. But just remembering it can't just be you. You're not going to travel just by yourself. So there's kind of this pulling away from just having it be you. On the 28th, we are going to have another lunar eclipse, and this one will be in Pisces. Again, still been working on this for a while, so I think you're a little bit more familiar with this vibration, but this is about letting the daily routines in your life, your health, your wellness, your daily routine, how you structure yourself, your efficiency, your thoughts about efficiency, the trust in your daily reality, your ability to receive in your daily reality. These are all going to be getting a rewiring at this time. And it's really a time where I tell you, particularly in August moving forward, if you have emotional overwhelm that is going on, it must get managed in some way. You're going to have to see how to get your hands in your head and your emotions around that. Or if you are in a position where you are absorbing a lot of other people in the group's emotional chaos and not able to transmute that or let that go, this will be something to definitely have your eyes on. Jump into the Venus Reset program. We talk a lot about how to give it back to Venus, how to give it back to Gaia. It could be really helpful for you. And then as we get to the end of the year, we will see Venus take its retrograde. And this is like a personal reset for you because it's going to retrograde from Scorpio and then it'll come back into the Libra energy. So this second house, first house dynamic, and it's big, it's personal, it's your ruler. It's going to take you inward, right? It's nothing to be feared, but it is going to be a chance and a place for rediscovery, I think, as you've traveled the year, your beauty, your value, your desires, your boundaries. How do you receive? How do you identify and have harmony within yourself outside of relationships? How do you move with your money? How do you negotiate and talk about things of value, very Venusian concepts? Whatever it is, as we travel that Venus retrograde, it's about a coming back to yourself, your voice, your vision, your worth, so that you're very clear about your values as this retrograde is over. All right, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Leo. All right, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Libra friends, I hope you have an amazing 2026. And right now I'm going to pass you along to Mr. Colin Bedell, who is going to get you sorted on your relationship astrology and see where you can lean into that all of 2026, because you've definitely got some relationship work that you're doing this year. I love you, Libra, and I'll see you all year long.
Welcome to your 2026 Love Horoscope. We love having you here. And speaking of love, I don't gotta tell you this, but the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our relationships, and no sign demonstrates to the zodiac more effectively than Libra. So, Libra, I am going to award you the sign that will probably experience the most transformative effects of 2026 in their relationships more than any other zodiac sign. And I'll explain why that is right now. So, First things first, last year from May 25th to September 1st, for the first time in 30 years, Saturn entered Aries. Aries rules your relationship sector. And so, what that means is that you are being asked to, I would argue, skill build in a particular arena to engage in relationships more effectively. So, said simply, Libra, I want you to reflect on May 25th to September 1st of last year and ask yourself, what do I need to learn how to do just from that chapter of my life in order to engage in relationships with more protection and connection? Could that be as something as simple as holding the paradox, which organizes almost everything in our relationships, right? The paradox is the foundation of connection. And see the paradox as not a problem that needs to be solved, but simply an energy that needs to be managed, right? Is it something as simple as making clear and complete requests as opposed to choosing resentment? Because the fact of the matter is, you're either choosing requests or you're choosing resentment, and resentment is a choice whether we like it or not. Okay. So, is it something as simple as maybe then practicing more mindfulness and mutuality? Only you know, Libra, right? But I do suspect that from May 25th to September 1st, you got a crash course on something. And this is significant because then on February 14th of this year until April 13th of 2028, Saturn returns to Aries. And it's going to say, all right, let's pick up where we left off, shall we? Now, additionally, this is, I think, why you win the award of the sign that is experiencing the most relational transitions. Venus, your ruling planet, will retrograde. It's going to retrograde in Scorpio first from October 3rd to October 25th, and then it's going to be retrograde in your sign, which does not happen often, from from October 25th to November 14th, and then it will move direct in your sign from November 14th to December 4th. All right? So, this is why you win the award for the most amount of relational transitions happening. And what I would do is just have you reflect on, what did you learn about your quality of relational intelligence and relational skills last year? How committed are you to applying that this year? And if you do, you will more than likely receive the Saturnian reward, because Saturn loves to provide you with a return on your investment. And focus on the skills, Libra. Focus on whether or not it's requests, greater boundaries, generous assumptions, clearer communication, depolarization, holding paradox, right? This is a 3-year story, so keep the goals small, but focus on the skills. And I really believe that you can engage in this transit in such a way that will provide you with very positive results. Okay? So happy 2026, Libra, and we appreciate you being here. Bye.
Hello, Libra, and welcome to your financial forecast for 2026. Now, in February, Saturn, which is almost like the cosmic headmaster, and Neptune, the planet of dreams, align in your opposite sign. They haven't done that in your lifetime before, and this is a new energy really for all of us. A shift is coming. The fact that they're aligning at the same time as a solar eclipse in another of the air signs suggests that you might be pushed a little bit off your axis, and yes, your balance could be disturbed. Recalling that Jupiter has been traveling over the career point of your solar chart for the last few months, it may be that you're offered a fabulous partnership opportunity. Now, I'm saying fabulous because it may well be exactly that. It could be mind-blowing. But take care, Libra. Don't jump into something until you've done the due diligence. That's really crucial. Whatever you decide to do, you have to live with the effects of that for at least the next few years. So do the due diligence and take advice. Uranus is also going to move into another of the air signs. In fact, you had a little bit of an overture of that throughout the summer of 2024. Now your world is going to open up in ways you could never have imagined 10 years ago. Contact with those who live and work abroad, or who work perhaps in the field of, dare I say it, AI, is likely to increase. your value, your expertise should rise. But again, don't squander your gifts. Think carefully. Now, since Chiron, the planetoid that orbits between Saturn and Uranus and acts as something of a bridge, is trying to get into the sign of Taurus and does a small overture there between, let's call it June and September of 2026. This gives you a heads up to the kind of practicalities you will have to address. And yes, you may need to invest in repairs, perhaps even take on some employees, or at least share the financial burden. You're going to take on more work in all probability, but will need support. Now, it's not all bad news by far. There's also a very special solar eclipse, albeit not in your sign, but in the middle of August, there's an eclipse in the sign of Leo, and that highlights an area of your solar chart that's all about network and distribution. And think about that. You've got special gifts. The people next door or your colleagues, they too have got special gifts. By joining forces, you could yet build almost like a small empire. And those contacts, your little black book, if you like, the networking possibilities should grow. Now, with that, from a financial point of view, remember too that you should spread risk. You don't put all your eggs into one basket. You don't put all your savings into one area. You research and see what feels right for you. Remember, yours is one of the air signs of the zodiac. You like the people who think research and development. You love new ideas. Take time, especially during the summer months, to learn how companies are underpinned, who's really investing, and who's investing in themselves as well. Mars won't reach your sign until 2027, but by then you'll likely be ready to invest in yourself and in a big way. View 2026 as being a time for information gathering and know that that could be the best investment of all. Enjoy your year.
Hey, my Libras. Welcome to 2026, the year ahead, health astrology wise. It's going to be quite an interesting year for you. Not a lot of transits actually happening. I mean, there's always stuff happening for all of us, depending on our charts, but lots happening in your opposite sign, which is always interesting for you to find your kind of balance and equilibrium. So we'll have a good play with what's going on and just a few of the transits that I think you need to kind of focus on to help keep 2026 in a great flow health wise and stuff you can do. So I can't do medical astrology for the year without talking about retrogrades, because I like retrogrades as like a reset or rebalance place. It's like us going back to a practitioner and being reminded of all the things we're supposed to be doing for ourselves. So that's how I really want you to approach the Mercury retrogrades this year. It's like a time, it's a chance to really rest and assess and move forward in a more balanced way. I'll quit using the word balance, I promise. So, the retrogrades are all happening in water signs this year, which is interesting for an air sign because we're happy to do and think, but this takes us into the emotions of life and ourself. And so this year's journey with Mercury and how we think and communicate and connect has a lot to do with emotions. So I'm kind of excited for you to take time out in that February, March, June, July, October, November. And really, the big thing to look at is what house these retrogrades are going on for you and where in those houses do we need to be finding more expression of how we're feeling and thus help to rebalance our physical body. Homeostasis means for the body to find health, equilibrium. Homeostasis actually means kind of health equilibrium, which is what you rule. But you have all these systems in the body that have checks and balances, and the kidneys are actually trying to balance the minerals of the body and the fluids and get rid of toxins. And the bowels are getting rid of, every system of the body has kind of detoxification and releasing areas. And with each retrograde this year, I would really like you to kind of assess, with the February one, it's the immune system. So cleansing out and releasing in the immune system, be it through herbal teas or sleep is actually a great detoxifier. Just releasing through the lymphatics, not just physical toxins, but emotional things we've been holding on to or not being aware of. So taking each retrograde and kind of just reassessing what you want to keep and what you want to release. So releasing through the immune system, February, March. June, July is releasing through the digestive system. And remembering what nourishes us and what doesn't. What have we been doing and giving to others that's not nourishing us, and pulling back so that we're nourishing and mothering ourselves or nurturing ourselves. And then October, November is the release of our deep emotional congestion that's been going on all year through the urinary system, through the bowels, even the reproductive system. It's this real process and release before we get to the end of the year. And it's interesting, the October, November one is going to happen after your birthday. So, really during that solar return, looking at the year ahead, what you're trying to create, and then making sure you are doing this final release as you're moving into that new year for yourself. I hope that makes sense. Saturn has been in Aries. It's gone back to Pisces, going back to Aries. So this is opposition for you, right? And Saturn opposite Libra is this adjustment. And at times that can pull energy down. When you feel out of sorts, or when you feel like you don't have as much energy as you should, often that's Saturn trying to get you to make a readjustment. With Saturn opposite your sun sign, there can be a little bit of trouble absorbing nutrients this year. So making sure the digestive system is happy and nourished, making sure you're eating really what we call nutrient-rich foods, soups, stews, stir fries, things that are kind of half warmed and digested so that absorption is easier, because it can be when Saturn is opposite that sign that you're just struggling to get in the right nutrition. So I'm a huge fan of drinking your greens, be it green smoothies or vegetable juices, vegetable soups. Spirulina, dark green leafy veggies, big focus this year for you. Nourishing the adrenals, which are that opposite organ for Libra to Aries. That comes with things like, it's about the stress response. The adrenals are, cortisol and adrenaline, and just, again, when the energy starts to wane, stopping, reassessing, what are we and aren't we doing to decrease the stress in our life? Sleeping, great for stress. Eating, finding, for a sign that's about balance, it's really easy to get out of habit. And with Saturn opposite your sign, it's actually a really great time to lay in some good habits. Habit patterns. So sleeping at the same time, waking up at the same time, trying to get some exercise in, my Libras. Find a friend, find a buddy. It's always easier to do it with somebody else. For the Librans, finding that, yeah, Find that time and the space for yourself and I really think like this year is about patterns and habits for you and laying down some great ones. I hope that makes sense for you. Enjoy. I actually think it's going to be quite a fun year for you. But last but not least, I should address Neptune also moving into Aries, which again, as that opposite sign, Neptune can cause sensitivity and hard to figure things out. Now, it's going to be opposite your sign, but again, this can make it can still happen with that hard to figure out what's going on opposition. Just be aware of how foods and things you're ingesting and people you're around, everything coming from external into your environment. How are you processing that? How are you coping with what's coming at you from outside and using a bit of Saturn to find boundaries around what's working and what's not for you? Again, Neptune can be a little bit draining of energy when it's in opposition. So watching Neptune as it triggers off planets in your chart as well. And it's okay to not be full energy all the time. It's okay for the rest. Yeah. And I just hope you have a fun year. Don't push too hard, but really tune in and look at what you're doing for your body and is it helping or hindering, and finding some better patterns with that. Okay, have fun, Libra.
Hey Libra, welcome to your 2026 Spiritual Development Forecast. I'm your astrologer, Tiffany, and I'm so glad you found us on the Stormie Grace channel. So welcome Libra. If you're new to my work, I write the digital astrology calendar. It's called the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar. We have a little coupon code for you that you can take advantage of. And we just appreciate you being here. I found astrology in the year 2000. And before that, I had had a near-death experience. The day that my sun in Scorpio progressed into Sagittarius. And so ever since then, looking back on all these very special, significant dates in my life, astrology just helped open some doors and some perspectives for me along the spiritual development path. So in addition to astrology, I do event planning, music production. I have a publishing company. I really like doing media type related things. I'm a yogi and I'm a beekeeper, and I live in West Texas, and I absolutely love it here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started with your forecast. So Libra, this is a year of considering the wilderness, considering your spiritual wilderness and what it means to kind of go into the wilderness together. And I really want us to consider that everything is divinely timed. There is a map, there is a plan, there is a purpose. It may not make sense now, but it makes a lot of sense hindsight. So let's see what we can explore and discover together this year. If you want to grab that calendar, it's at wiseskiescalendar.com, and please use the code Stormie2026 2026, right, as a thank you. So we're going to have some defining moments of 2026. There's going to be high highs and low lows. There's going to be mountains and valleys. But every transit is an invitation to understand more of the eternal truths, the things that last forever, as opposed to the temporal things. So I love astrology because it answers that question. This too shall pass. It will. Absolutely it will. And astrology helps us know when and more about the weather. What's spiritual astrology? It is like evolutionary astrology in that it considers the soul's growth and the soul's free will. For me, I say it like this. It's not what will happen to me. It's what is God teaching me through this lesson, through this season. What is it that our Creator wants me to know? What's the purpose of life? That's the number one question I get asked as an astrologer. And I don't know. And you don't know. And your answer is definitely going to be different than mine. But as I tune into these questions that I just get asked over and over. And so I want to provide some kind of response. And it's a question that is just a very core of humans' search for meaning. To me, the purpose of life is to glorify the Creator, not the created, right? And to love His children, to love each other. So a very dear friend of mine reminded me before I started writing this forecast that prayer transcends planets, right? So there is a forecast map, there is a frequency, there is a path, but then there's something higher that you can reach, and that's prayer. Prayer goes directly to our Creator, and that is part of our tools on the spiritual development journey, right? Okay, so we're going to look at the ecosystem for 2026 for you guys. Your age, Libra, how old are you? And where are you in your wilderness cycle? The primary ancient Greek words for wanderer that's where we get the word planet. So being born under a wandering star and considering where you have been in personal deserts or personal exiles or felt lonely, right? Then we're going to look at the quarterly forecast, and I have broken it down for you into months. So to enjoy this, you just need to know your sun sign. We know you're a Libra. If you're a Libra, you're in the right place. If you're watching for your Libra best friend, take everything with a grain of salt. If you have a Libra moon, this might help you as well. But I'm so glad you're here. I want you to consider your age. And I also want you to consider, the personal deserts that you've been experiencing, where you've felt isolated, alone, different. Where you have felt like you have gone into the wilderness with no provisions and that you are just walking forward in faith. Like or are you not doing that and you know you need to be? And what do you think that the Creator calls you, like your special name, that name that just is just very private between the two of you guys? It is, you're more than your job, you're more than your role, you're more than your midheaven, right? You're more than your sun, moon, and rising. There's an essence to what the Creator calls you, that special, beautiful identity. And that's what I want you guys to be considering as you're looking at your 2026. Libra, you are the peacekeeper, a message from Spirit. I gave you a heart that longs for balance. You see beauty where others see brokenness. Use your grace to bring people together and reflect my justice. Your gift is peacemaking, harmony, fairness, and you have an eye for beauty. I love that. Okay, so how old are you? Find your age on this wheel and then trace it down to one of the house numbers. If you're 35, you're in a 12 house year. If you're 68, you're in a 9th house year. If you're 29 or 41 or 53, you're in a 6th house year. And then take a screenshot and grab some of these keywords and use it into the year ahead. Also, life cycles of the soul. This is a huge topic in astrology, but if you are a hot age, if you're a hot age numbered year, I want you to take a screenshot of this too and consider that there might be an extra layer of the tone of your year ahead. Okay. So 2026 is a 1 year. It's about focus and fresh starts. 2025 was a 9 year, which felt very last quarter moon, right? It felt very like lots of endings, lots of tying things up, lots of waiting for a finish line, lots of paying off bills and debt, lots of more endings than beginnings. But those endings that we have been experiencing will turn into new beginnings here in 2026. It's a whole new world. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction in 0 degrees of Aries, that's the very beginning of the zodiac. It's a freshness, an innocence, a new beginning. I can't think of another way to say it. So wilderness, guys, this place of new beginnings, it doesn't mean that we know all the answers as astrologers on how it's going to go. We are in a wilderness, and it's not a luxury. The human spirit needs that wilderness, needs that time of, oh my gosh, are we going to make it? Needs that being out on an edge, asking for provision and for help and for guidance, right? So Q1 is going to be about planting seeds. Out of nothing comes something. Q2 is going to be about rebirth and the birthing pains. And there's some intense astrology going on in April for sure. Q3, there's going to be tests and alignment, and there will be some temptations. There will be some moments where we're not really sure. We want to go back to the easy way, or it's easier back at home than it is out in the wilderness in the desert. So there will be moments to question and consider. And then the Q4, this is more about harvest time, reaping what we've sown and relaxing into that. So let's start with Q1. This is our seed planting quarter. We've got 2 eclipses. We've got the massive Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and we do have a Mercury retrograde period. This is about surrendering old cycles, clearing space, making room, getting organized. Your journal prompt is, what new foundation am I building with prayerful direction? January is a 2-month and a 1 year. This means that you're going to have new beginnings, especially when it comes to relationships. The 2 represents the relationship that we have with everything. So you are the common denominator in all of your relationships. How you are with your garden, with your creator, with your family, with your work. There's an attitude that you have when it comes to relationships. And so that's going to be worth considering. January, I want you to slow down, pump the brakes, be aware that it's better to go slow this month. So Libra, for you, yeah, that partnership theme is underlined, I would say. And so I would just continue to focus on that. If you've got some wounds there, can you reframe them? Can you look at them in new ways? Do you have some mother-father wounds that you can let somebody off the hook, be in total forgiveness, use the Ho'oponopono prayer, and take all of those hurts or things that you wished you had or what you're wanting to rewire and put that back into your God box, or ask that of the creator instead of people. January 1st, Mercury squares Neptune. Mercury is the details, the data. Neptune dissolves, so it can feel very nebulous. It can feel very much like unclear, right? And then Chiron goes direct in Aries. That's a slowing down period as well. To me, this feels like a gate for surrender. What are we surrendering to? What are we surrendering for? These are for your consideration in journaling. Then the first 2 weeks, Venus, the Sun, and Mars all oppose Jupiter and square Chiron in 22 Aries. And so throughout this presentation, you'll see these notes of the Sabian symbol. I'm not going to read them all, but I do want to just share this one so you know how you could be using it forward. With the Sabian symbol here in 22 Aries, it's really 23 Aries, right? Because you read the degree ahead. This one is a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. So to me, this means somebody that's approachable, that is maybe angelic, kind, sweet, but has too much going on, and it's treasures. It's a treasure that she has, but she can't take it all forward. So take less into 2026. Know that everything's still valuable, but you can give some of it away and it's not going to hurt. And yeah, I think it's such a great symbol for what's going on in January. In February, we are in a 3-month that is about creativity and focus on some great creative effort. I want you guys to stay open-minded. The main astrological event outside of Saturn and Neptune conjunction is the eclipse in Aquarius, where Pluto is, right? So this eclipse in Aquarius is going to shake up the social structures. It's going to shake up the groups, the networks. It's going to shake up some tech stuff. It is going to unplug us from groups that we thought we were part of and put some different boundaries in place, I would say. For you guys, for Libras, I think that you're going to have a creative rebirth. I feel like you're going to be more creative than you've ever been. And I want you just to stay open-minded to what's wanting to be created through you, right? So it's less about the ego and what I'm wanting to do and celebrating me, and more about celebrating this creative spirit that is through the lens of you, right? And I just think that there's some opportunity here for you to get excited about like something that's less linear and more poetic. So how could you be more creative in anything that you're doing? The butterfly emerging from a chrysalis, right? This is something that you've been hanging on to for a long time. So if you've been wanting to write something, if you've been wanting to launch something, if you've been wanting to travel, if you've been wanting to experience something, be in prayer about it and see if this is kind of your moment. See what's brewing up, right? Spirit wants to put you in the right place at the right time so you get access to be more creative. Sometimes that's a little road trip. Sometimes that's looking at a book with new eyes. Sometimes it's simply a change to your routine, right? Circle 222 is a jackpot day. Venus trines Jupiter, and that is great for love and money. Of course, we do have Mercury going retrograde at the end of the month and into March. So we're still in this foggy period, the seed planting period, the first quarter, the first 3 months, that new moon feeling of darkness. Something is starting, but I don't quite know what is trying to emerge yet. That chrysalis emerging. So March is a 4, and it's about acceptance. It's about stability. It's very solid and concrete. We are needing to find that balance, and there's no better sign in the zodiac that can find balance than you, Libra. This is a month where I want you to spend in quiet reflection, being a little bit more internal. The eclipse is in Virgo, right? And so this is, to me, this is like an unplug from the data and the details of life. And so for you, is there a moment where you can get away for a weekend of quiet? Where have you not been taking a day of rest? Can you encourage yourself to take 1 or even 2 days of rest per week? At the beginning of March, I think it's curious. Mars, right, masculine driven in feminine watery Pisces. And then Venus, very receptive goddess Venusian vibes in Aries, pointed, focused, masculine, hot, fire, right? And so there's this juxtaposition of male and female and the double helix of masculine and feminine energies being in different waters, swimming in different fires. And this water and fire business is, we're going to see that again in August when we have the eclipses in water and fire. So Jupiter goes direct in Cancer, and I think that this has been a sweet time for consideration of families and family values. And I always like to remind people to slow down the day before, during, and the day after an outer planet goes direct or retrograde. So there's just less energy usually, right? Oh, sorry, equinox. So Mercury will go direct, yay, at the end of the month when we have the sun moving into Aries. So that's somewhere opposite your sun, right? And so I'm curious, do you notice that you typically feel a certain way during March? I'd be curious to see if that has something to do with the sun opposing your sun. So some seasonal foods that encourage grounding, you can look at any of the signs here, but for you guys, I picked out an olive tapenade with some sourdough. One of my friends brought me the most delicious olive sourdough, and I just like slice it so that I'll have 3 or 4 slices in a baggie, and I'll freeze each one. So I'll just take that out, and every week or 2 weeks as I run out and have just a little slice of the sourdough with the olives in it. And I think that that would be a nice option for you to play with. Okay, the second quarter, this is rebirth, renewal, new growth, new awakening. This is first quarter moon energy, right? Like there's something's happening. We have energy back in. We're out of that first quarter and we're ready to do something with the ideas and the feelings that we've been having. So Uranus enters Gemini, Chiron enters Taurus. We have another Mercury retrograde period. Libra, I want you to have discernment, and you have such a great ability to see hope where maybe there's darkness or there is no other like practical sense of hope. But for you guys, I want you to really accept reality and what is. I want you to say grounded and rooted in prayer. So your roots are going down and your flower petal is going up and seeking the sun, but it doesn't take you off course, right? You're both rooted and flexible, looking up. Your journal prompt is, where am I called to grow in faith and not fear? April, this is a busy month. It's a 5 in a 1 year. We can feel spread too thin. We can be doing too much. We can say yes when we mean no. We can say no when we mean yes. This is a call to be more flexible. So the whole purpose of one of the purposes that I do yin yoga is to get over the hurdles of the mind. So the mind, right, wants to let us know that, hey, we got a lot going on in the future. Or, hey, there's something that you should have done differently in the past. And it's finding that blend of just letting go of the future thoughts and the past thoughts and just being present with what is. So there's going to be opportunities to be spread too thin. I would be very careful about, I am traveling in April, but I would just encourage everyone to be very careful during this month. Mars is conjunct Neptune and Saturn, and Mercury, I believe, is in the sky there too. Yeah, through Aries 2 through Aries 7. That's a lot of planets in one area of Aries, right? And so I feel like that fire starter energy that has the spark to start, but not the energy to complete, like that's going to be very prevalent in the energy. And Mars Neptune, like I have that in my chart, and I've studied it in other leaders' charts because I found there to be a common thread there. It's great for spiritual vision, but it can also be misused and misguided in the form of like a misguided crusader. So just be careful. We want to put our faith in God, not people, in our creator, not just the people that are just human like the rest of us, right? Mars conjunct Saturn, that's the malefics, that's the warriors. Are they going to be fighting together or against each other? So that's worth considering. Saturn is the banks of the river. Neptune is the water that flows in between. We need both. We need the flexibility. We need the structure. We need the discipline. Cesar Millan does a great job of talking about boundaries and rules, and I just love his work. So if you need a refresher on when boundaries can be helpful, man, study Cesar Millan and his work with dogs. It's not just about work with dogs, it's about work with people too, right? So Uranus is going to re-enter Gemini for the long haul, the next 7 years, and some of the themes in April that you're going to see percolating back up, I guess, energized from this Uranus Gemini moment that we're having. We're going to see educational reform. Gemini rules grade schools. You might notice some different homeschool type opportunities popping up. Weather, power grid, imaging with drones and aerial photography. This is themes that we have seen during other Uranus and Gemini periods. I think for you, you're going to have some moments where you just are changing your belief system entirely. So this rebirth moment comes through your beliefs, and that's not going to happen if you're not curious, if you're not asking questions, if you're not going out and meeting people in the spiritual places, right? I like to think of the starfish whenever we have a 5-month, because it is easy to get spread too thin and to forget kind of what's most important. The starfish story has to do with a little boy. He's on the shore of the ocean. He's walking along the line of the ocean, and he sees a bunch of starfish, and there's so many, and they're all dying, and he like, why are they washing up? And he starts throwing one back. And the old man comes up and he says, you can't save them all. And he says, well, I made a difference to that one. And he does what he can, right? But he has the opportunity to be completely overextended. We can't save all the starfish, but we can save one. We can do one at a time. And so this is a spiritual opportunity to go back for that one person or that one thing or that one conversation and have a redeeming conversation, right? You want to have a life well lived. So if there's any little loose ends that you need to tidy up, this would be a good month to consider. Like, yeah, where do I need to say I'm sorry? Where do I need to clean up my act? Where do I need to excuse myself from this because I don't want to participate in this behavior? Where do I need to tell somebody, I love you so much, I refuse to argue with you, right? All right. In May, it's a very plutonic month. It's a 6, which I like because it represents the pregnant body, and it's more of a creative internal time. It's nesting, it's kind of home decor, it's cooking, it's very Cancerian. And during this time, yeah, I just feel like May is the 6 is one of my favorite numerologies numbers to just enjoy throughout the year. So I'm excited about it, but it is very plutonic, and I'm a Scorpio, so I welcome this plutonic change internal energy. Mercury is going to conjunct Chiron, then square Pluto. Then Mars is going to square Pluto retrograde. So Pluto will retrograde in Aquarius, and it will every year, and it will for several months. So this isn't something to be concerned about. It's just to notice that it's a more internal time of the year. So yeah, will we see some news in the media with this large disappointed audience? Will we see some information leaks? Will we see secrets unearthed? Will we see something coming out of the woodworks? And if you have done your yoga and your breath work and your meditation and your prayer life and your spiritual tools, have you rooted in a foundation, you're ready for anything, right? You're trusted, you're surrendered, you understand that there's a higher calling for your life, you're ready to serve, you don't have anything to be nervous about because it's not about you anyway, right? Like, it's not about me anyway. We're just here to be the best we can, do the best we can, and serve each other. So for you, Libra, yeah, this creative rebirth continues for you. And I want you to really consider what is it that's wanting to happen through you. So a lot of focus this year I have seen for you guys is going to be with your creative process. So if you haven't done The Artist's Way, this might be a really cool month for you guys to reread or check out some of the tools from the book called The Artist's Way. All right. In June, it's a 7 month, and the times that I think about the seven, it's like going up this beautiful spiral staircase, and it's like this very Wizard of Oz or visiting Merlin or reading spiritual books feeling, and it feels very nostalgic. And so I put nostalgia on the journey home, but what is the journey home? Where's home? Where's your spiritual home? Because I promise you, we have already overlaid in our nervous system something that we think about heaven or the other side or the afterlife with something that we experienced at home. So there's already a misfire, a misguided thing that we have needed to overcome and needed to rework our belief system. Has nothing to do with how wonderful your family was, how great your culture is, how much you love your traditions. It's just a rewiring of the mental map of what we think home is once we have crossed over. So there's, I think, opportunities here to talk, to have conversations with family, to look through old pictures. We've got Mercury retrograde in Cancer, to go to old grave sites, to do some ancestral traveling, to cook old recipes, things like this. Chiron is going to move into Taurus. I remember when it moved into Aries, and it doesn't seem like 2018, but Chiron and Taurus, we're going to see wounds in a different way. Chiron, you know, as the wounded healer, but Chiron is much more than just the wounded healer, right? He also overcame his wound, and he had to transcend death, right? Chiron represents our niche, our talents, a part of us that feels lonely, isolated, different, hurt. It represents the part of us that is in that wilderness journey that feels like, wow, how is this going to work? Right? This feels crazy. How is this going to work? And this is much like the bees. When the bees swarm, they go out into a new territory and they don't have comb built. They didn't build ahead of time and then move in. They went forward. They biologically decided that this was going to be the spot, that they were going to rebuild, and that the forage would come. So there's an element of trusting. There's an element of trusting your body wisdom, trusting, like, tuning into your intuition from a physical level, maybe using your body as a pendulum, and having those new conversations about your health and what you might be needing to do a little reset in. So your health, your special talents, the areas where you have a niche, that is going to be a big focus for you. And so I put also trust the healer and trust your healing, and lean into that. You know, if there's anything that was below the surface, maybe last month Pluto would have dug up some things. Like, I don't know, I recently went to the dentist just for cleaning and they unearthed some things. I don't have any cavities. I don't need a root canal. Like, nothing was going on. It's just that they unearthed some data that I didn't think was there. So you might be going for a routine checkup and have something else come up. And this is great because it's just showing you, yeah, take care of yourself. Trust the healing process. Trust the healer. Trust the master healer. Ask for help. Jupiter moves into Leo in June, and that's going to be exciting. It's going to be a time when we're going to see more news from the royals. We're going to see an interesting change of position with who's really leading. I'm excited about Jupiter in Leo, and we'll talk more about that soon. So for you guys, how about some, let's see, I put spinach and strawberry salad with balsamic. Doesn't that sound good? My eyes stopped at Leo because we were just talking about Jupiter grilled peaches with honey. Yeah. So these are some spring food ideas. I like to throw in the flavors and the seasonal herbs and things that might align with what you are hungry for this season. Okay, now we're in Q3. This is the desert wilderness. This is a place where God meets his people for intense spiritual conversations, right? This is the emptiness. This is the what were you thinking? This is the time for fasting, and not just maybe from food, but from social media behavior, from certain conversations or groups. Fasting can be done in a variety of ways, right? This quarter, we're going to see all of the outer planets talking to each other, and then we're going to see 2 eclipses in August. So we're going to need some patience and perseverance. So pack your patience. Remember that rejection is God's protection. I have so many stories of this for you. If they don't want you, run the other way. I promise. Somebody does, right? You want to go out to the fence and you want to have a horse that is just ready to ride, that can't wait to see you, that whinnies when you come out, and you guys go on the best trail ride of your life. You don't want the horse that runs, that hides, that you have to kick to make go. That's not what you want. You want that feeling of like excitement that will meet you where you are, Libra. Okay, so your journal prompt: am I living aligned with my highest values in divine timing? July is an 8 month. And so I see a lot of people making big moves in the 8 month. I see people buying homes. I see people moving foreign countries. I see people making big decisions. And this reminds me of a book that I read with my spiritual group called Chasing the Wild Goose. It was by Mark Batterson. And in the beginning of the book, he makes reference that the Celtic Christians, the early Celtic Christians, used to call the Holy Spirit the wild goose. And I love that imagery, that it's so just Jupiterian, like we could be on this wild goose chase, on this adventure of life, studying, yearning, wanting, like this just love for information and ideas and a connection, right, with our Creator. So chasing the wild goose is going to mean something different to you than it does to me. But the idea here is that you're on a spiritual adventure. And if you can dream it, you can do it. But the world will tell you you can do anything. And I want you to lean back into your spiritual development and into your prayer life and ask your Creator, what is it that you ought to be doing with this precious human life, right? Because I promise you, I did not wake up as a 6-year-old and think, I want to breed queen bees when I grow up. So now at this age, at 44, as I'm breeding queen bees, it is so much more rewarding to be on that wild goose chase and to follow the Holy Spirit in a direction that feels energizing and life-giving, right? It's just a whole different sense of joy. Okay, we have many astrologers on our panel. I'm sure that somebody is going to touch on these big, huge, loud outer planet conversations, but the tectonic plates are shifting. The little baby one that I want to talk about is the North Node in Aquarius. So the North Node is shifting from Pisces back into Aquarius. And so that means that sense of destiny, that thing that's pulling us forward, the head of the dragon that's eating and chewing and gnawing and wanting more, is in Aquarius. And that's the people, right? That's social change, social reform. It's technology, it's groups, it's networks, it's fast thinking, it's AI, it's computers. Aquarius is one of the very most curious signs to me because it's co-ruled by Saturn, which is very modest and strategic, and Uranus, which is very unpredictable and eclectic. And so it has this kind of mad scientist feeling to me that is always keeps you guessing. So it's perfect timing to chase the wild goose. For you, Libra, again, that creative word is coming into play. And I want you to figure out who you want to collaborate with, who you want to be in group with, who you want to do life with, who you want to be in community with. In August, it's a 9 month. And so the intensity is building, the distortion is building, the noise is loud, right? And so we want to figure out how we can use the best side of the 9, which is integrating all of the things that you've been learning along the path the last 9 months. How can they culminate and work together, and what do you need to get rid of? But there should be some feeling of ending, a feeling of pressure, a feeling of a sense of maybe even restlessness with it. The Leo and Pisces eclipses, you're going to see that in the weather, right? You're going to see the wild weather reports for sure in August, especially having to do with fire, wildfires, and then also water, waterways, oceans, volcanoes within water, pipes bursting, mold, things like this. You know, we tend to see the environmental effects of water and fire with these eclipses. So what else could we look at the metaphysical level? If that's the physical level is the weather, what's the metaphysical level? Well, it would be detaching from our Leo side, that part of us that thinks that we need to outshine something, right? That part of us that there's that childlike heart, that child wound in there that is running the show based on something that it's telling us from childhood. Well, what else? What about Pisces? Is there an element of our spiritual walk that is really just not true for us anymore? How do we detach from that? For you, Libra, these eclipses are going to fall in your 11th and 6th house. So I'm wondering if you can lean into that 6th house service through connection with your 11th house network. So service and connection, or connection through service, whichever way you want to look at it. How can you put down yourself, your ideas, your goals, your plans, and just say, how can I help? I'm here to help. When you're nervous, be of service, right? And so I think that's good advice for August. September is a reset button. You get a 1 month and a 1 year. That's a double rainbow. It's a fresh start. It's a new beginning. We'll have had the eclipses behind us. More will be understood. We'll be in a better place because we will have been consistent with our spiritual discipline all year long. So we're ready for anything, right? Mars is in fall in Cancer as we start September, and it's squaring the other malefic, Saturn, which is retrograde in Aries. And to me, this is the battle that we all face. And the battle that we all face is to me, is thinking about anytime I'm upset, angry, frustrated, it's not at you, and you're not doing it at me. There's a spiritual battle going on underneath the surface. And so wherever I go, whether I live in Austin or Abilene or Santa Fe or Alaska, no matter where I travel, if I'm in Tulum, if I'm in the desert, the ocean, the mountains, the cold, the hot, wherever I go, there I am. And there is that other person that doesn't want me to do good things, that wants to let me know that I'm too fat, that I'm too skinny, that I'm too loud, that they can't hear me, I'm not speaking up enough. They're always out there, right? And it's not them. It's something that wants to get my goat. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's this reminder that we are fighting unseen forces. So it's not a physical conflict. It's not you. And I can see it coming, and I know what to do with that, right? So be safe out there. Saturn rules bones and teeth, and Mars rules blood and weapons. And I feel like this square is a tension moment. And so I want you guys to just play it safe when you leave the house. Make sure all of your things are tidy and safe, and that you've turned everything off that's supposed to be off before you leave. Yeah, although there's all this intensity and distortion and noise and confusion, you're going to be just fine. Neptune is sextile Pluto, both retrograde. And to me, this is a time when spiritual doors will open, that more people will have prophetic dreams, visions, spidey senses, psychic development. They're going to be getting their intuitive hits. And so pay attention, pay attention to what God may be saying to you through somebody else. And discern, Libra, like know the difference between the voice of the spirit and the voice of man. This is a time for you to have a personal renewal, a health reset, a refresh, an identity reset. Remind yourself of that question: who does God say that I am? Okay, for you guys, let's look at some peach cobbler. How's that for some stone fruit and summer produce and something that feels nourishing and sweet and delightful? Okay, for our last quarter of the month, harvest and renewal, both, I want you to really write your gratitude list, go back through the year, see what you can celebrate, see what you're tidying up and preparing for next year. In October, both Venus and Mercury will retrograde. It's a 2-month, which we saw back in January. So there might be some repeat or redoing things from January. The retrogrades are a recovery, a redemption, a redo, revise, insert word. For you guys, I think it's going to have to do with self-worth and finances. So how is your self-worth tied to your financial worth, and can you decouple some of that? And maybe you see that maybe there's something spicy going on in your relationships. I don't know. In November, it's a 3-month, so this replicates February. There's this something that's wanting to happen through you, right? And it's okay to want some recognition, because it's okay to be the leader. It's okay to take the tiara off and pass the leadership to somebody else too. In November, Mars, Jupiter, the South Node, all in Leo. And I think that we'll see some everyday people rise to stardom, and some big stars and celebrities just not be shown anymore, some canceling type thing. Now, I'm wondering, is this superstar energy or super spreader energy? I think more will be revealed. So let's just stay tuned for how that's going to play out. And then in December, I want you to take it easy. It's a 4-month, just like March was, new foundations, slow and steady, 4 on the floor. This is not a go, 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 go energy. This is, the go, 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 go intense energy is April and July. December is not. So relax, rest, don't overdo it, don't overbook things. Keep your calendar simple. Just enjoy the day-to-day little juicy pieces of each day. Take it easy. Go slow, especially the 11th through 14th. On solstice, as the sun enters Capricorn, this is going to impact your family structure, your home, your nest, what you like to cook, your family history, this connection to your 4th house. Maybe you want to rearrange the furniture or do something to spice up the decor in a new way. Maybe it's something sweet that you want to do with your family to tie up the year, and we can be flexible around the dates for that. But yeah, I think it's a really sweet way to finish the year. And some cozy festive meals, an apple tart with caramel drizzle. I'm actually making that tonight. I got a puff pastry. I'm going to slice some apples. I'm going to put some honey, maybe some brown sugar. I'm just going to make a little apple tart. And I don't know. Sounds good to me. All right. So some closing concepts from your friend Tiffany in 2026. Your guiding light, our guiding light is the creator of the earth and the moons and the heavens and the stars and all of the creatures. That's our guiding light, the creator, not the created. The spiritual journey offers this, guys. When we come to the end of ourselves, our ideas, our plans, our egos, we return home. So what is it that spiritual home means to you? And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. There is a plan. There is someone in charge. And love, love, love your enemies and those who hate you, because when you do that, it turns their hatred into a blessing. It turns their negative into a positive, and that can't be undone. That can only be increased. Libra, a reminder, you are the peacekeeper. God gave you a heart that longs for balance. You see beauty where others see brokenness. Use your grace to bring people together and reflect God's justice. Your gift, Libra, is peacemaking, harmony, fairness, and you have an eye for beauty. The mountains are calling and you must go. You must go live your precious human life. You must enjoy it. You must love it. You must enjoy the high highs and the low lows and the peaks and the valleys and the deserts and the wilderness. All of it is for you, right? It's not happening to you, it's for you. And thank you. I'm Tiffany. I've been giving you your 2026 spiritual development forecast from the lens of my heart to yours. I hope you can relax into divine timing, that you can surrender to the higher calling of the life that's wanting to be created through you. Again, you can grab the Wise Skies calendar, the digital astrology calendar at wiseskiescalendar.com. Use the code Stormie 2026 and have a good year. I'm so glad that you joined us, Libra, and all my heart goes out to you. Many, many blessings on your path ahead, and namaste.
Hey there, welcome to the locational astrology section of this video. I'm so excited to support you. My name's Helena Woods, and I'm a leading locational astrology and astrocartography specialist, traveling full-time around the world, data collecting and testing this information of how to be in the best places at the right times, using the power of astrocartography combined with transits and progressions. So if you don't know astrocartography, it's essentially a sub-niche, subdivision within the bigger umbrella that is locational astrology. And it's essentially the astrology of place, the astrology of location. Places have influence, places have power, and I'm on a mission to support people to unlock their natal promise and be in the places that awaken and activate aspects within the birth chart. The most important thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to note when transiting planets are hitting your personal planets. Now, in this video, I'm giving general descriptions for each rising sign. However, astrocartography is very personal in that your moon's at a certain degree. Your Venus is not going to be the same Venus that someone else's rising sign is, right? Our planets in our birth chart
are in specific zodiac signs at specific degrees in certain parts of the chart. And so the key thing I want you to take away from this whole video is that when you go to an astrocartography line, let's say the moon line, for instance, you want to go to that moon line when a transiting planet like the sun, Venus, or Jupiter is going over your moon, because that's where we're getting the most acceleration, enhancement of being at the right place at the right time. And so I've been doing this in my own life for the last 3 years, traveling the world full time, noting the planets that I would like to receive from. So for example, if you want publicity and acknowledgement and attention, you'd go to your sun line. If you want to launch or promote or even commerce, sales, marketing, socializing with friends, having an astrology meetup, meeting up with people, Mercury lines. If you need some confidence and courage, go to a Mars line. If you're looking for some more knowledge and expansion, seeing more possibilities, that question of where do I need to be expanded in my life? What needs clarity? Go to a Jupiter line. So utilizing and understanding what these planets represent in astrology, knowing their meanings, you can plan trips accordingly to go to those places to get the maximum enhancement of what that planet symbolizes. And also being there at a time when you personally are getting the activation by transits and progressions to your planets. This is where things really take off to a whole other level. The other way that you can get the maximum benefit of these stories, even if you don't travel, is by getting the energy through remote activation. So calling up that friend that lives on the Mercury line when you've got the transit, reaching out to that podcast to do a collaboration on your Jupiter line. Even though you don't live on the Jupiter line, you know a podcast host who lives on your Jupiter line. Reaching out to them when the timing brings it up, okay? Obviously, traveling to these lines and being in these locations is where you're going to get the most maximum benefit of astrocartography, but still, these are important things that you can do that can help you. So let's get into the 2026 travel forecast. Now, the best time to really travel in 2026 will be when Jupiter is direct. And this is between the time frame of March 10th to December 11th. We start 2026 off. We start the year off with Jupiter retrograde, but Jupiter, the planet of travel, knowledge, and expansion, will move direct. On March 10th, Jupiter will station direct, will move direct on March 10th. And so once we get to March 10th and Jupiter's direct, I really love this for all things travel. Note as we get to the end of the year that Jupiter will also retrograde December 12th of 2026. So just some key timeframes to note in your calendar for the year. Now I want to kind of bring up an example of how you can use astrocartography with timing, as I mentioned earlier. In 2026, we have Jupiter in Cancer. If you have any planets in Cancer personally, or Leo, if you have any personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Uranus even, Neptune, outer planets, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, even the nodes, if you have the lunar nodes in Cancer or Leo. This year, if you have any planets in Cancer, this is the year to go to that planetary line that you have that's being transited by Jupiter. Same thing with next year. As we get into next June 30th of 2026, Jupiter will ingress into Leo. If you have any planets in Leo, including the lunar nodes and even the outer planets, if you have any placements in Leo, going to that astrocartography line as Jupiter is hitting it. So for instance, if you have Mars in Leo, or you have the Sun in Leo, or you have Mercury in Leo, going to the Mercury line when Jupiter is hitting it is a really cool way to accelerate things, enhance your life, and get a lot of cool opportunities and expansions and enhancements with that Jupiter transit. So wanted to just mention this right at the top before we get into the rising sign forecast. Look at the planets that you have in your birth chart. If you have anything in Cancer or Leo, this is going to be a major time to travel to those astrocartography lines to get the benefit of the Jupiter transit. So we all have our planets in different zodiac signs and at different degrees. And these planetary lines are scattered across the globe. So this is why astrocartography is so personalized. It's so unique. One person's map, if they were born 15 minutes later, it's a completely different astrocartography map. And so this is why knowing those planets in your birth chart and the degrees and all of that is going to be so important to get this as personalized to you as possible, as well as your planetary configurations. What are the planetary conditions of your sun line? What is the planetary condition of your Mercury line? As an example, I know a ton of people that love living on their Pluto lines. They have strong Plutos in their chart. I love living on my Saturn line. I have a very supported Saturn in my birth chart, enclosed by the benefics. We got a Venus square, we got a Jupiter trine. So this is why going a bit deeper into understanding planetary condition is really important if you're going to be making a serious move, like relocating to an astrocartography line. Knowing your birth chart and your planetary condition is so key to knowing should you move there or should you not. And I want to make sure I advise caution and encourage you to either book with a locational astrology specialist or learn how to read your chart yourself before you spend a massive amount of money on moving, because moving is expensive. Trust me, I do it every year because of my husband's job in France. And so I understand moving is a lot. So before you move, just make sure you're looking at everything. All right, let's get started. All right, Libra risings, welcome. Mercury lines would be really ideal places for you to make a trip, to learn something new, to enhance your studies, to learn a foreign language, or even just to be in a place where you feel really mentally stimulated and alive. So Libra risings, check out your Mercury lines on your astrocartography map with Gemini in your 9th whole sign house of travel and foreign cultures. Ideal times for you to travel to these Mercury lines would be between the months or the time period of June 9th to June 26th of 2026, with Venus traveling through your 9th whole sign house of far distance travel. Saturn lines are places in the world where you might feel a real sense of stability, groundedness, and a strong foundation for your living situation. I myself have Saturn in this placement in the 4th whole sign house, and I can attest, I feel really at home on Saturn lines. So a lot of people, when they first get into astrocartography, they're like, oh no, Saturn bad, Pluto bad, etc. No. Look to your natal chart, look to your Saturn in your birth chart. What aspects are being made to your Saturn? What's the planetary condition of your Saturn? Doesn't necessarily mean that your Saturn line is going to be awful or bad. I myself have lived on my Saturn line for 8 years now, and I love it. So there's a lot more to it than good, bad, etc. But you might feel really grounded and at home on Saturn lines. And so check your planetary condition for Saturn. But these are places where you might really feel a sense of stability and like rock solid foundation of like, I can build a life here. I can really unpack and settle in here for a long time. Libra rising is an ideal time period for you to venture to a Saturn line, to maybe scope out a home or check out some neighborhoods or see if this is a place you would actually want to live. Would be between the time period of January 1st to January 17th this year. So right in the first few weeks of the new year, with Venus traveling through Capricorn, your 4th whole sign house of home, family, and living situation. And if you're not traveling during this time, it could be you're reconnecting with family and friends, and perhaps there's some sort of connection with Saturn lines with that. So check out those Saturn lines on your astrocartography map and ask yourself, have I ever felt really called or connected to this part of the world, this culture, this language, this part of the world? Have I felt a deep soul resonance with this part of the world? Check your Saturn lines, Libra risings, and also check those Mercury lines too. I hope that this information supported you and helped you in planning your travels this year in 2026. And so if you want to learn more about this, you can check out my website at helenawoods.com and also get my free astrocartography cheat sheet. You can join my astrocartography newsletter, which is all free, at helenawoods.com/cheat sheet. All this to say though, this is going to be an amazing year of travel. I'm really excited for everyone to be taking advantage of Jupiter in Cancer and Uranus in Gemini. Have a magical day. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. You can